both the deed of abortion and the lie, I devour the flesh of children, stained with the blood of the past. The elders, moved with compassion for her, went to the house of that landlord, and had him transfer to the peti the virtue of the alms gift which he made to them. All at once the peti, freed from her misery, obtained great blessedness and showed herself during the night to her husband. Then the elders in due time came to Savatthi and told the matter to the Lord Buddha, who then taught them the Dharma in that matter. The Devourer of 7 Children. While the teacher was staying at Savatthi, he told this story of a peti naked and ugly in form and a devourer of 7 children. In a certain village not far from Savatthi, a lay disciple had 2 sons, handsome and gifted and good in character. Because of them their mother despised her husband. In disgust at being slighted by his wife, he brought home another one, a young girl, who became pregnant with child. The elder wife, moved by jealousy, persuaded a certain physician, in return for a fee, to cause miscarriage in her rival. Questioned by both the kinsfolk and her husband, she denied it and swore falsely that if it was true, she would become ugly and naked in form and a devourer of 7 sons. She thus invited the doom that actually befell her. After her death, she became a peti, ugly and naked in form. She would give birth to 7 sons and then eat them every day. At that time many elder monks, who had kept the retreat of the rainy season in an abode in the village, were going to Savatthi to see the Blessed One. On that occasion they spent the night near that village. Then the peti appeared to these elders. The chief among them asked her in our stanza, "You are naked and ugly in form. An ill-smelling and rotten odor you breathe out. You are all covered with flies. Now who are you that are standing here?" The peti said, "I, reverend sir, am a peti, a wretched dweller of Yama's world. Since I have done an evil deed, I went from here to the world of Peters. At daybreak I give birth to 7 children, in the evening again to 7 others, all of whom I devour. Even these are not enough for me. My heart is scorched and smokes with hunger. I do not attain serenity of mind. As though burnt with fire. I suffer torture." Then the chief elder asked her, "Now what wicked deed was done by body, speech, and mind? Through what offense do you devour the flesh of children?" The peti said, "I had 2 sons. Both had attained adolescence. But I, having witnessed the strength of the sons, despised my husband. Then my husband was angry and married another wife. And when she became with child, I planned evil against her. And I with mind corrupted, caused the fall of her unborn child. This fell in the 3rd month, foul and bloody. Then her mother in anger brought her relatives to me. And she administered an oath to me and had me reviled. I, even I, took the terrible oath falsely. May I eat the flesh of my children if it was done by me." Single quote. In consequence of both the deed and the lie, I devour the flesh of my children, since I am stained with the blood of my past. Opening parenthesis. Rest of the story is just like the previous one. No. Panch putta kadak petavathu vanana. The ox. While the teacher was staying at Jetavana, he told this story. At Savatthi, the father of a certain householder died. The son was tormented with grief and was lamenting. As he was going around like a madman, he would ask whomever he saw, "Have you seen my father where he is gone?" No one was able to dispel his grief. But, in his heart, as a lamp in a jar, there was burning the immediate condition of the first path of enlightenment. As the teacher was surveying the world in the early morning with the light of his divine insight, he saw this and thought, It is the right opportunity to give this man the fruit of the first way after he has told his past experience and suppressed his grief. So on the following day, he returned after the alms round. He went with a junior monk to the man's house door. Upon hearing that the Lord Buddha has come, he went out to welcome him. When the Lord Buddha was seated, the host said, "Lord, you know where my father has gone." Then the teacher addressed him. "Disciple, do you ask about your father in this state or the past one?" Upon hearing these words and having his grief subdued, he said, "I had a good many fathers." He recovered a little composure. Then the teacher gave him a brief Dharma teaching to him, who immediately attained the first path. Then Lord Buddha went back to his place. Then his monks started a conversation on it. Upon his arrival, the teacher asked, "Well, monks, for what discussion are you now seated here in a group?" They told him the matter. The teacher, upon their request, told what had happened. "It was not only at this moment that I dispelled the man's grief, but in a previous life too it was removed. Once upon a time in Benares, the father of a certain householder died. Overcome by grief and lamentation, he beat upon his breast and reverentially walked around the funeral pile. His son, Sujata by name, an intelligent and clever boy, endowed with the highest wisdom, who was considering a means of dispelling his father grief, saw outside the city a dead ox, before which he set some grass and water that he had brought. He offered it a morsel, and commanding like a living one, he stood there, saying, "Eat, eat, drink, drink." When the passers-by saw him, they said, "Hello, Sujata, are you mad that you offer grass and water to a dead ox?" But he replied never a word. So the people went to his father and told him, "Your son has become mad and offers grass and water to a dead ox." When the householder heard this, his grief for his father left him. Agitated, he quickly went and scolded the boy. "Are you not Sujata, intelligent, clever, and wise? Why do you offer grass and water to a dead ox?" In that connection he spoke 2 stanzas. "Why now, appearing like a madman, do you cut the green grass and mutter to an old ox whose life is gone, 'Eat, eat'? For not by food and drink would a dead ox arise. You are childish and simple-minded, just like anyone else." In reply, Sujata spoke the following. "These feet, this head, this body with the tail, the eyes also are here. Let this ox get up. But the hands and feet, body and head of grandfather are not seen. Weeping upon the mound of earth, is it not you who are foolish?" The father. "Truly I was glowing, being like a fire over which ghee had been poured. Now sprinkled as with water, I make an end of all my pain. Truly, you drew from me the sting, the grief that was rooted in my heart, you who dispelled from me, overcome with sorrow, the mourning for my father. Truly I have laid aside my grief here now, and am calm and have made an end. I do not mourn now, I do not weep, having heard you, my boy. So do the wise who are compassionate. They divert us from grief just as Sujata did to his father. And the father washed his head, ate food, and attended to his business. At death, he went to heaven. Then Lord Buddha taught the Dharma, the truth to the monks, upon knowing which, many became established in Sotapanna state. Thus Sujata became a protector, the Lord of the world. The master weaver. While the teacher was staying at Savatthi, he told this story. Just a dozen monks, having acquired a matter for practice from the teacher, were investigating a place in which to live. As the retreat of the rainy season was near, they saw a delightful forest abode with shade and water, and at a convenient distance from it a village for getting food. They passed the night there, and next day, entered the village to collect alms. The people welcomed the monks and begged him to enter upon residence for the retreat of the rainy season. Then the head of the Weavers' Guild respectfully served 2 months with their 4 necessities of life, while the rest of the guild members cared for each monk. Now the wife of the chief weaver was unbelieving, without faith, unorthodox and greedy, and did not help the monks. Then the master weaver married her younger sister and made her mistress in his house. She had faith and zealously cared for the monks. All these weavers too gave 1 cloak to each of the monks who were observing the retreat of the rainy season. Then the selfish wife of the head of the Weavers' Guild, with a wicked mind, abused her husband, saying, "Whatever food and drink you give as a donation to the Sakya ascetics, may that in the next world be turned into dung, urine, blood and pus, and may the cloaks become burning plates of iron." At his death the master weaver was reborn in the Vindhya forest as a Ruka Deva endowed with splendor. His stingy wife was reborn as a peti not far from his abode. She was nude, ugly and overcome with hunger and thirst, and as she approached the Earth Deva, she said, "My lord, I am naked and walk around exceedingly tormented with hunger and thirst. Give me clothes and food and drink." He gave her some of his excellent Deva food and drink. This, immediately upon her taking it, was turned into dung, urine, blood and pus, and the cloak with which she was clad became a burning iron plate. Vomiting and wailing, she went about in great misery. At that time, a certain monk, who was going to pay his respects to the teacher, with a large caravan entered the Vindhya forest. The caravan, after having been traveling at night, saw by day a place abounding in shade and water, where they unharnessed the oxen and stopped to rest. Then the monk, who with a desire to be alone had strolled away a short distance, spread his cloak on the thick grass at the foot of a tree and lay down. Weary in body from the journey by night, he fell asleep. When the men of the caravan had rested, they went on their way, but that monk did not wake up. Then having got up in evening and missing his companions, he followed a side path and finally came to the abode of the above-mentioned Deva. When that Deva saw him, he came up in human form and welcomed him. He took him into his mansion, and after he had given him ointment for his feet and other presents, he paid him homage and sat down. At this time, the peti also came and said, "Give me, my lord, food, drink, and a cloak." He gave her these things, which, the moment they were grasped by her, invariably they turned into dung, urine, blood and pus and burning plates of iron. When the man saw this, he became greatly agitated and asked the Deva in these 2 stanzas. Dung and urine, blood and pus she gets. Of what is this the result? Now what deed has this woman done, who is always feeding blood and pus? New and lustrous, attractive, soft, white, and shiny are the clothes given to her. But they become various metal plates. Now what deed has this woman done? The Deva then explained her previous birth to the monk. This was my wife, venerable one. She was not willing to donate, miserly and stingy was she. When I gave to monks and Brahmins, she abused and censured me, saying, "Dung and urine, blood and pus, even filth may you feed upon for all time. Let that be your lot in the other world, and may your clothes be like metal plates." Since she has committed such a wicked deed, she shall, for a long time after arrival here, eat that filth. Now, is there any means of freeing her from the world of the Petas? He said, "If one presents a gift to the Lord Buddha and to the community of Arya Sangha, or even to one monk and transfers to her the credit, and she appreciates it. In that way she will have release from sufferings. When the Deva heard this, he gave that monk food and drink and transferred the virtue of the gift to that peti. Instantly she had sufficient. She was of joyful heart, and satisfied with the Deva food. Then he gave into the hand of the same monk a pair of Deva cloaks for the Blessed One and ascribed the credit of the gift to the peti. Immediately upon then, she was clad in Deva garments, well provided with everything that is to be desired, became similar to a divine nymph. Furthermore, that monk through the potency of that Deva on that very day reached Jetavana monastery in Savatthi and told all the incident to the Buddha. Buddha appreciated it and then he gave a Dharma discourse. The bald-headed woman. While the teacher was staying at Savatthi, he told this story of a bald-headed woman. Once upon a time there was at Benares a certain woman living on her beauty. Now her long black hair, fine, soft and glossy, had a most beautiful curl. Her tresses made 2 handfuls, and when loose, hung down to her girdle. Then a few envious women took counsel together, and having bribed the maidservant sent her a drug which would destroy her hair. Now the maid prepared that drug with the bathing powder and gave it to